Real estate is about freedom, choice freedom, time freedom, and money freedom, and the impact you can make with that freedom. But it doesn't come without cost. Your freedom takes work. That's why Neil Timmins brings together the tools you need to build your real estate legacy, from tips and tricks to interviews with industry titans. It's all here in one place. Real Grit. Let's get to it.
What if I told you you can make 20 times the return of a single family fix and flip on your next big deal? Well, it's actually possible. It's possible inside the world of commercial real estate. Say, I'm inviting you to this free challenge. It starts August 15th. It's totally free. It's a 5-day challenge where I'm going to take you and deep dive into the world of commercial real estate, more specifically, capital multiplier properties, what that is, how we identify them. I'm going to show you how to identify them, how to evaluate them, and how to lock them up risk-free. I'm going to give you all the paperwork to do it. It's totally free. You can sign up to join us at www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. That's www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. And I'll see you in the challenge. Everybody, welcome to Real Grit. I've got Rudy Curtler here with me today. He owns 12 mobile home parks, a couple of commercial properties, half a dozen single families and small multifamily rentals. Been investing since 2007. Looking for tax reducing strategies. And that's what, attracts so many of us to this industry. Syndicated 4 deals with investors and to see what is the best fit, the most logical path to their future moving forward has historically been syndication as they look to do some bigger deals moving forward. So I'm excited to have him here. Rudy, how are you?
I am awesome. How are you, Neil?
Good. I'm excited you're here. I appreciate you taking the time to connect up here. I love talking about mobile home parks among many other asset classes. That's a fun one because that's such a unique niche and has really come into the mainstream over the last handful of years. But before I dive deep into that, tell me, what was your first entry point into real estate?
My first interest point was actually when I was traveling, working for my W-2 income a number of years ago, probably 23 to 24 years ago. And I knew I was relocating to an area that I didn't want to live permanently. Yeah. And so I didn't want to buy a second home just to have a second home, and I didn't really want to rent. And so I actually bought a duplex where my tenant was paying enough rent that it covered my mortgage. And nice. So that was kind of my first dip my toe in the water, get to learn it, understand it, realize that not every tenant perfect, good. She was a really good tenant for me, but it was a great way for me to kind of start learning the ins and outs. And then as soon as I had anticipated, I'd relocated within a year back to, this was from the Twin Cities up to Duluth, Minnesota, if that matters, if you care. But
yeah, up north,
a little more interesting. But anyway, and then I was relocated back to the Twin Cities, and I kept that property for maybe a year and realized that it just wasn't, in that particular moment in time, it wasn't a great situation for me. It wasn't generating enough profitability or whatever, but it was my first toe in the water.
Yeah, no, that was some number of years ago. That's incredible. Did you travel quite a bit for the W-2 job at that time?
I did. Yeah. And I worked for Best Buy company at the time and
which was
working for them, but I was
local, right? I mean, Best Buy's headquartered HQ in Minneapolis. I've driven past that thing. I don't know how many, untold number of times. And 20 some odd years ago, Best Buy was a monster, was it not?
Monster. Yeah. It was a great company to work for, great growth, strategy, great growth path. And I my career with them and did quite well. And that was what was forcing me to look for some of the tax strategies in real estate.
Sure.
But to your question, I traveled quite a bit and I got to see different parts of the country, different parts of my market, et cetera.
At what point did you exit your W-2 job in totality?
I haven't yet.
Oh, you're still there?
Amazingly.
I did not know that.
Not with Best Buy still, but I left Best Buy maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I still have a W-2 income. And I've said probably 3 or 4 times, very definitively, yep, I'm done going to do all my side. And I keep getting pulled back into T-side, but I have an exit strategy. I think that'll happen by 2023.
Well, you must enjoy it, do you not?
I do. I love what I do. I enjoy it. As I said, kind of called back. And I guess if you want to say it that way, people reach out to me and ask me to come back and help them on different projects. And I got sucked in and I run right now I'm a chief operating officer for a large franchisee who runs 185 hair salons.
Okay.
And that's a very unique industry, unique business. Very challenging right now with kind of on the tail end of COVID, but very different. So.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, this will be fun to dive deeper into the real estate because I think it's a testament to So many folks, I don't know if I can do this, and all the stories they tell oneself, and you got 12 mobile home parks and you're still working a full-time job. And it's not like you couldn't leave. It's because you love it. It's still engaging, still interesting. And so you still want to be engaged with it. Yeah. All right. So
we've been growing and growing, more than we expected, but it's been a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. Tell me about the first mobile home park.
Yes, sir. So the first park we bought was in just to the west of Brookings, South Dakota. And we bought that because we'd actually bought, I think we'd bought a half dozen single family homes. All of those homes have been value add properties. Brookings is it's a nice Midwestern college town with a really good mix of rental properties. I think that they had told me at one point it's 52 to 55% of all the properties in town are rentals. Yeah. Because of the university. And so we had started to buy properties there. All of my in-laws lived there. And so part of my tax strategy was, every time I go and visit my in-laws, I can make that a property visit and, find ways to get some benefit out of that.
You're the only person I know who wanted additional reasons to go visit the in-laws. Maybe it makes it more palatable to go there.
Yeah, for sure. Go, real life monopoly. But anyway, but we've been looking to buy multifamily properties in Brookings. Well, Brookings is a small enough town where the primary small multifamilies were all owned by three families. Okay. And, they had in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, they bought them up where they bought the land that was zoned for small multifamilies. And so we were having a hard time breaking in, outside of paying crazy prices. And we accidentally found a mobile home park that was just west of town and scooped it up, bought it. I actually overpaid for it. Was interesting because everybody says, well, you make the money on the buy, you don't make it on the sell. Was probably the single best overpay story for me. It has, and when I say overpaid, I didn't overpay that much. It was like $5,000 over ask price, but I didn't want to lose it because I knew the opportunity cost was greater than that $5,000 that I was going to pay. Yeah. And so that was my incentive.
Yeah, sometimes you're exactly right about the opportunity cost is so much greater than the actual real price. How many lots is it?
And it's a little guy. This is a small park. It's 21 pads. Yep. It's on 13 acres, which is, by the way, a very small number of pads for that size.
I was going to say, a lot of acres. Yeah.
There's about 6.5 acres of land that's vacant when we bought it. It had a small commercial building on there, which was rented out to a local builder contractor. And then it also had some old RV sites that were sitting there, and they rented some of those out time. But we were just interested. It was close to where we wanted to be. It was an easy drive. We figured there'd be some good value, and was with the space where the old RV sites was, we were actually going to take that and immediately convert that into self-storage, and which we talked about right before the call. Yeah. But we learned some things about the RV sites that I really had no idea about. And I am so glad we didn't turn that into self-storage.
What was it that kind of saved your bacon is what I'm reading between the lines here.
Yeah. So my hypothesis was, with RV sites, it's on a kind of a major east-west highway right there. And I was thinking, who's going to be renting an RV site here in this little town in the middle of South Dakota that it's not really all that exciting to be here. So I'm not going to get any revenue off of this. While there are a small percentage of customers that would come and rent those RV sites just on a night or 3-night basis, the real money was in people that were coming to the area for extended periods of time. So think of construction workers that work on big projects. Think of, they don't want to live in a hotel. They bring their rig behind them and pull with them. Yep. And that's where the money was, because we actually had some fairly large construction projects happening right around that time. We not only upgraded those, but we actually added another 8 RV sites on top of those. And we've been very pleased with the financial results of those.
Terrific move. How do you guys manage it?
So we self-manage. My partner started with me. My brother-in-law is my partner. We started with the single family homes. He lives in Brookings and he manages. And we have now graduated to the spot now that, because we have 12 mobile home parks and still we have a half dozen rentals, a couple of commercial buildings and whatnot. It's a lot. So we actually have another park manager who oversees some of the day-to-day stuff and helps us with some of the smaller things.
So you've got 12 total, and the one in Brookings. Where are the rest located? Through the upper Midwest here?
Yeah, primarily, well, not primarily, they're all located in either South Dakota or Texas. And so, we have 9 in South Dakota, we have 3 in Texas.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you end up down in Texas?
So a little over a year ago, about a year and a half ago, we had actually been partnered up and working with an investor from our first syndication who had expressed a strong desire, similar to ours, to create a fund. We wanted to create it was some kind of a mobile home park fund.
Yep.
And the strategy was to invest in value add properties. And during the course of the pandemic, there's 2 asset classes that really exploded during the pandemic because people were moving away from luxury apartment complexes, moving away from office buildings and so on. And they were really accelerating in self-storage and mobile home parks.
Yep.
And so we had already created the fund as the pandemic was kind of still gearing up and some of the shifts were happening.
Yeah.
And during the capital raise, we raised $3 million for the fund, and with the intent to go buy somewhere between 4 and 6 properties, depending on what we could find. Yep. Because the cap rates had compressed so much and valuations had skyrocketed because of the demand, we were having a hard time finding additional properties that made financial sense in South Dakota. And so through this partner, we found a couple other individuals in Texas who were looking to buy, bring in some capital resources and bring in some operational resources, which we could provide. They had a couple of parks they had access to, and more behind them that we could get to if we wanted to. And so we ended up, we just wanted a partnership with them as well. And that turned into a really interesting opportunity for us.
Yeah, no, well, that's tremendous. Tell me, we fast forward a lot from 1 to 12 properties. What's been the biggest challenge for you going through that growth phase?
I think a number of things. So mobile home parks are unique animals. Number one, they can be very financially lucrative. They can also have some traps and pitfalls in there if you're not paying attention and you don't do your diligence right. Some of the learnings that I had on an early park that we don't own anymore is, we started to kind of branch out. This was before we had done a syndication, but I had pulled in a different partner who had gotten them interested in mobile home parks, and we thought it'd be a good play for us. And we bought a park in southeastern Minnesota in Rochester. Mm-hmm. And at that park actually became the source of some really good learnings. So let's just call it, like, we built our standard operating procedures based on all the things that we did wrong in that park. Yeah. It was a value add. It was small. It was probably one of the rougher areas of Rochester, which when you think of Rochester, Minnesota, you don't know. I didn't.
I've been there. Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. And it's well known for the Mayo Clinic, and
right.
IBM's got a huge office there. Yeah. But anyway, it's a nice community, but this is probably one of the rougher parts of town. And the park itself needed us to pull some homes out. Well, we started pulling homes out. Well, that actually decreased our cash flow because we pulled out the cash generating homes. We didn't raise capital when we went in. There was an extra couple of acres. We could have brought more homes in, expanded. So a lot of things we didn't think through and do well. And so anyway, that created, those are kind of highlighted for us, some of the pitfalls and some of the traps. Yeah. And so we kind of took those learnings and, we kind of wrote those down and, stuck them in our brains as they'd come back to. And we ultimately, as we started syndicating, we used those lessons to say, here's what we learned going through this and stubbing our toe a bit and skinning our knee. We won't make those mistakes twice. I'm not saying we're not going to make mistakes, but we're not going to make those mistakes twice if we can avoid it. And so that was really good. But the syndication for us has really become the growth model by bringing in partners that are looking for it. They were in a similar position to where I was back in 2007 and 8. And they're just looking for ways to diversify in many cases. And they like the fact that we've, rolled up our sleeves and done this work, and we've learned, and we've stubbed our toes on their behalf in a way, right? Right. Yeah.
Well, it gives them a comfort level to be with somebody who's got a breadth. It's not your first deal. You've got an experience, and knowing that nothing's perfect. I always get a little leery when somebody tells me, "Oh, it's nothing but great. It's always been good." Like, it's not even possible. And then, you got to go through some stuff and learn some things, and actually it makes you better. It makes you a better manager. It makes you a better investor.
Well, you become aware, right?
Yes.
Just like a little kid, and you learn not to put your hand on a hot stove,
Sure.
right? Well, maybe you learn from somebody else telling you, but if you did it yourself, there's a really good chance you won't do it again.
That's right. Yeah.
Because it hurts. So,
yeah, no, that's right. Take me back to Rochester. You pulled some homes out.
Yep.
For the audience's sake, why did you do that?
Yeah. So mobile homes themselves are a depreciating asset. So think of them, we like to think of them like used cars. So there are some used cars that are still on the road that are in really good condition. They look great. There are some mobile homes that are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old that still look great. The owners took good care of them. But then there's plenty that are rust buckets, right? And they just deteriorate. The roofs are bad. They leak. The floors are weak, kinds of things. And what happens is we've got an internal adage, and maybe other people use this too, but the uglier the house, typically the uglier, quote, uglier the tenant that you attract.
That's right.
Or, the weirder the house, the weirder the tenant, whatever you want to say. But and that's what was happening was, this park wasn't attracting the best tenant that we could find in Rochester. And so we knew that we were going to have to get rid of some of those homes in order to make the property more attractive to people that were willing to pay more rent for newer properties and so on. And so we were trying to pull the olds out of there, get them cleared out, and starting to bring new homes. And some of the learnings were things as simple as, know the difference between a 200 amps and 100 amp electrical service, what a 50 amp electrical service is if it's a really old park.
Right.
Well, because you're going to have to you could pay significant money to upgrade some of those electrical, runs and bring in those new homes. It wasn't a question that was in my mind, which was, gosh, what's underneath that dirt in the park? Because I've got to anchor these homes down when I bring them in. Yeah. Well, it turned out to be underneath that 6 inches of dirt was 12 feet of bedrock that I never anticipated. I'm thinking, well, how do I anchor this house down now? Because I'm now just stuff like that. And like, okay, well, we got to create our SOP, and here's what we look for and ask. And anyway, so.
When I think of ongoing maintenance and things that could really go wrong or be a substantial cost for mobile home parks, immediately sewer and water comes to mind. Maybe talk a little about that, how you've managed that, and any experiences you've had with the utility component of it.
We've had a bit of experience with sewer, water, electrical. One of the parks we own right now, we bought knowing that it had a water line issue. And part of the issue is it had water leaks in the water lines underneath the park for a number of years. The issue isn't that, we can't fix the leaks. The issue is that the pipe itself is deteriorating. So if you think of any old plastic over time will just gradually fail. Yep. And that's what's happening. So in this park that we still own today, it's an 80 pad park in Brookings, and it's got piping underneath the park, the whole park. And there's only a limited number of people that are willing to take on a project like that. Yeah. And that creates its own conundrum. Correct. And costs go up when somebody knows that they're the only person you can go to.
Yeah. In order to do that right, it sounds like that pipe's got to be replaced.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And so we're working through challenges. And with that park, similarly, we did the capital raise up front for the water line repair based on an old estimate. And so that's another learning that we had, which was, okay, you probably want to go and get a current estimate that's, within 30 days or 60 days or something. Yep. And because it was at the beginning of the pandemic, that's when I started seeing, across the country, seeing shortages on just everything. The most random things. Yeah, right. And so, shortages means prices are going to go up. Yeah. And of course, inflation hit. And so now what we had estimated for a repair cost at the time, currently today is double that cost. Yeah. Yep. So there are those definitely, you've got to be mindful and call a licensed or qualified repair person or contractor to give you an estimate. And so there's definitely lessons in there.
Maybe a gold nugget for the audience would be, what would you do on due diligence as it relates to water and sewer on the way into a property?
Yeah, definitely get 2 to 3 bids from qualified contractors, repair people, whatever. And I would definitely scope those lines out. Scope water line and sewer line, watch for collapsed pipes, watch for tree roots that are growing in the water lines, those kinds of things. But they, generally with technology, they get in there with cameras and see if you've got some failures or any issues that they need to be repaired right away.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, really double down and paying attention to what those look like.
Yep.
It's you and your brother-in-law still today as partners, and then the management staff of parks.
Yeah, and we have a couple other partners that have come in. So one of the other things that I learned in the Rochester Park adventure was the individual that I partnered with at the time is a really good friend of mine. But he and I think very much alike. Like our approach to problem solving is very, very similar.
Yeah.
And that's problematic because, well, it's a good, friendship and good partnership in some respects. It's also not good because we don't think differently enough about how to solve some of those challenges. And so we've expanded and we've added a couple of different partners who intentionally I've added to the team because they help me think differently and see things from a different lens. Not only do I appreciate that, I want that. I welcome that because it helps me, problem solve better.
That yin and the yang, it creates a harmony and a balance and a uniqueness to, it ultimately gets you to a better result at the end of the day. Yeah. Well, there's an old Chinese proverb, I'll butcher it. I believe it's a Chinese proverb, something like, if two minds come to the same answer or same conclusion, one is not needed.
Yep.
Right.
Well, right. Yeah.
Right. No, that's absolutely right. But you're right, because you make tremendous friends because you're so simpatico in so many different ways. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. Looking forward, where are you guys headed? As you look down the next year or so, where's the company headed?
Yeah, we're still looking. We always look for value-add mobile home parks. We think there's tremendous value to be added. It's a very unique supply and demand model in the United States. So there's a lot of cities, states, counties that don't like mobile home parks just because of the mom and pop. Generally was underfunded, and a park can go south fairly quickly from a look and feel environment. And so they prefer to have nice, shiny townhomes or apartment complexes sitting in that land.
But it's America's last stand in affordable housing.
It is one of two asset classes that does well in all economies. Yeah. Good economy, it does well because people get priced out of housing that they're trying to get into. Not a bad economy. If you've got to move down, you can only move down so far before you're in on somebody's couch or you're homeless. So
no, you're absolutely right. Let's do this. I want to move on to the final segment, what I call 4-4 impact. If you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. Henry Ford said it. What about that resonates most with you?
Well, I love that because what it challenges me to do is think differently about problem solving. Mm-hmm. And while there is something to be learned, there's something to be pulled out of what you've learned. There's also, somebody else may have solved that problem differently than you did too. So, and it goes back to my point about the lessons learned in Rochester. We stared at the same problem. My partner and I stared at the same problem for almost a year and didn't think differently. And it's the old adage of think outside the box. Yep. And we hadn't necessarily done that. And by having different partners and different points of view, it gives us that way to get the think differently mindset.
Yeah. What do you think holds most investors back from hitting their personal next level?
I think a couple things. So one, I think people are probably, they get scared whether they want to admit it or not. Yeah. It's kind of scary to jump off the cliff for the first time. It's scary to go skydiving the first time you do it, right? A lot of those things. And it's easy and it's comfortable to sit and not do that and maybe dream. But once you commit, to use the skydiving analogy, once you jump out of the plane, you're committed. Yeah, it's not interest anymore. It's commitment. So I think people are scared to take that first jump. And there's probably also some level of comfort too. And I found out myself, even in the W-2 world, in keeping a W-2 income, there's comfort in having that. Yep. It's a safety net to have. And
outside of real estate, what are you most passionate about?
I think the obvious answer would probably be family, right? So my family, we've got 2 daughters and my wife, and my daughters are turning into amazing people. My older daughter is a junior in college, younger one's a senior in high school. We're going to be empty nesters. My wife and I are talking about, what are we going to talk about next year when our younger daughter's out of the house? Right. So, because I can only talk about mobile home parks with her so much before she's really tired to talk about.
No, I can. That's a short leash. I get that.
Yep. Yeah. So on a fun level, I love golf. I try, and I make a great effort at golfing. How is that?
Yeah, no, that's great. So a lot of times it's the one shot in 18 holes that just brings you back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That may be all it takes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Outside of real estate, or maybe this, what's your favorite way to make an impact in the community?
I love teaching people. I love, even in my current job, I love when people have what I call a click moment. A click moment for me is when you kind of see their eyes kind of light up. They go, gosh, I never thought of it that way. Yeah. And just even as simple as it can be, I love telling stories. I like getting people engaged and excited about topics that make me, that I'm passionate about. And I just love having those quick moments. So teaching others, I think, really gives me a ton of energy.
Yeah, no, that's great. I really appreciate you taking the time, Rudy, to connect up and beyond. You've got a unique story, especially you started with the singles and then you manage it at scale a whole lot easier, entering in an asset class that really makes sense. Like I said, America's Last Stand in affordable housing. And you've done it 12 times over, and you guys are continuing to do it and probably connect with partners as you strategically take on larger value add projects. Fair to say?
That's what we're thinking. Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, we'll continue to grow. So Neil, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. For people who want to connect with you, they want to follow you, they want to find you, where can they do that? How can they do so?
They can find us on our website, probably the easiest. It's sawgrasscapitalpartners.com. They can find me on LinkedIn, Rudy Curtler, LinkedIn. Those are the two simplest ways. Love to hear from people and love to connect with folks that are interested in the space.
Yeah, we'll get links put below in the show notes. So for anybody who wants quick access, you can find it there. Rudy, I really appreciate you taking the time on. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You
Have a good
bet.
one.
Hey, for everybody here at Real Grit, I'm Neil Timmins, reminding you that real estate requires real grit. See you next time. What if I told you you can make 20 times the return of a single family fix and flip on your next big deal? Well, it's actually possible. It's possible inside the world of commercial real estate. Say, I'm inviting you to this free challenge. It starts August 15th. It's totally free. It's a 5-day challenge where I'm going to take you and deep dive into the world of commercial real estate, more specifically, capital multiplier properties, what that is, how we identify them. I'm going to show you how to identify them, how to evaluate them, and how to lock them up risk-free. I'm going to give you all the paperwork to do it. It's totally free. You can sign up to join us at www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. That's www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. And I'll see you in the challenge. If you like our content and want more, you can access it at realgritpodcast.com. You hear it guest after guest. Instinctively, you already know it. But let me call it out. The most expensive action is inaction. The real estate market is full of opportunities. You just need to uncover them. You can build a business that lasts for years, makes monumental impact in the lives of those that you love. It's not just about business, but about the freedom you get because of it. Have you ever heard the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I believe that partnering is essential. In fact, I partner with hardworking investors all the time. The point is that you can get a lot further with the right partner. Let me say it again, the right partner. If you've ever thought about partnering with anyone, or if you have a partner now, I encourage you to download my free Partner and Profit Guide, which includes the top 5 must-answer questions to evaluate a profitable partnership. You can find it at www.legacyimpactpartners.com. I'll see you in the next episode.